everyone, my name is Poisonblade and I hope all of you are doing well today. So today I have another episode of Beaversdam for you guys, and it's probably going to be a series because I've gone way too much into the groove of building this place. But what I'm building today is two, well, stereotypical Dutch houses, but I'm going to call them Grachtenpand, which is the Dutch word for it. So if you think what the hell is he saying when he's calling these things Grachtenpanden, that's the Dutch word of it, because canal houses just sounds weird and stereotypical Dutch houses becomes kind of boring after a while. So yeah, you guys learned some Dutch today, Grachtenpand. I'm going to build two versions of these, and then the majority of today's video is actually for the church. And some of you guys might remember the Church of Isla Psivka, and then you will also remember that building churches in Planet Zoo is quite a task, so that's why it's taking 2/3 of the video for today. But anyway, with that being said, let's get into today's video. So I'm already going to apologize in advance because there's a little bit of like a storm brewing outside, at least there's heavy winds. So if that translates in any way into the recording, I'm already sorry for that, but I couldn't postpone this, well, the making of this commentary any longer, because otherwise I couldn't build my koala habitat, which should be up the day after this video goes up. Yeah, I couldn't postpone that, and it's actually weird to think about it, because last week, or just before, I complained about the heat wave, and now it's literally just pouring rain for 2 weeks straight. In 2 days, the temperatures dropped 15 degrees Celsius from 35 to barely 20. So yeah, that's the Netherlands for you. One day you're basically melting, the other day you're drowning in rain. So yeah, that's just a quick little tidbit on how the Netherlands works for you guys. But now to talk actually about the building itself. So when it comes to like these stereotypical Dutch houses or the Grachtenpanden, at least the ones in my vicinity, because you do see these houses pretty much everywhere where there's like a little bit of like a, let's say, old town part, or like an old part of a village. Well, town, because villages usually didn't have houses this large. From what I've seen, most actually don't have these like ornate facades, like the staircase or the bell-shaped, and yes, we call them, well, the Dutch version of like staircase and bell-shaped. And then there's some others, but from what I've seen in like my near vicinity, it's mostly actually still like these straight facades, not that much like ornate detailing as such. Sometimes the facade is a little bit erased, so that there's still like that sort of fake wall, but most of them have this like just straight on facade, which I'm actually going to use this, let's just say, as the dominant house. And that the like ones with like the ornate facades are more the just, let's just say, pop out buildings. The buildings that you really like, if you're like a tourist, that you look for, and the other buildings are just like there as extras basically. I just want buildings that somewhat pop out. I mean, the church is of course going to pop out. It's on a hill, it's huge, and yeah, I really have a problem with churches, or just, let's just say, religious buildings, because we have the Church of Isla Psivka, which was a huge task. The Hagia Sophia, which, yes, is a church, it's now a mosque, it's a building, was built as a religious building. And then we now have the Church of Beaversdam, which is also huge. I have an issue with churches and castles, I think. But yeah, it's going to be 2/3 of today's video, so yeah. We're going to have one of these straight-laced buildings, or straight-laced facades. Probably not the right word for it, but by now I've kind of embraced that I just don't know how to speak. But then I also built one L-shaped facade, so that's the, well, rounded one instead of the staircase one. But what I am planning for the next video, so today's video, as you might have noticed, will not have any animals because it's a church episode, so yeah, that's a huge undertaking. But what I plan for the next episode is one maybe implied facade, or facade implied habitat. I mean, this is an implied facade in a way, because it's a little bit larger than what's needed. But then also a Grachtenpand or stereotypical Dutch house that also has a workable inside. So you will, well, you see this on the house that we've already built. But what I associate most with like these Grachtenpand or stereotypical Dutch houses is that when it's like a shop, the front section is like completely open, but it's somewhat set in the way that you see on screen right now. And I want to build a bar. Like I want to build a bar in one of these buildings and maybe like a souvenir shop. Like I want to finally for once build an inside to a regular building instead of a church. Although, just to give you guys a heads up, I'm not going to build it inside to the Church of Beaversdam because that's going to be, well, not impossible because I did it with the Hagia Sophia, but yeah, that was just not worth the time. But kind of weird that, as I said last week or just before, we had a heat wave in the Netherlands. Now it's pouring rain, and then also like the Australia pack came out, so that's why this week is going to be especially busy because I hope to have 4 videos up this week, but I might return it back to 3 just to, you know, have some of my sanity left after this week. But yeah, I'm thinking of like pushing the funky looking turkey bird to next week. Just again to sort of save my sanity. Yeah, I have not have any time yet to actually in any way build on Kean Albashar to make it ready for like a release on the workshop. Just because again, heatwave, I literally couldn't touch Kean Albashar because my PC would just be hotter than the core of the sun. And then the Australia pack came out, and you guys know now that I plan to have 4 videos out this week, but I'm sort of becoming aware that that's probably not going to happen. But I do hope to have at least 3 videos out this week on the Australia pack, with the dingo probably being the next one, or the funky looking turkey bird. Don't know which one for sure. Hopefully tomorrow we will have the koala habitat. Hopefully, that's why this commentary had to be done now, because otherwise I wouldn't have time to finish it. Yeah, send prayers to my mental sanity, because it's not doing well. It's, well, I'm doing well, don't worry about me, but it's just like, yeah, sometimes I literally had only 2 or no, only 1 video a week, and now it's like, yeah, let's go to 4. I don't do things in halves, I know that for sure now. And I have a problem with castles and churches, because, yeah. But now we're finally starting on the church, which, again, I took inspiration from literally what's around the corner from my house, so yeah, and then drew some inspiration from like churches in Delft and Utrecht, which are 2 Dutch cities. So going to take a little bit more inspiration probably from like Delft and of course Amsterdam. Sadly not Rotterdam because, well, the Germans saw to it that I can take inspiration if I want to build a modern building. But yeah, can't take inspiration for like these like classical grachtenpanden or stereotypical Dutch houses. Because, yeah, Rotterdam didn't really do well in the Second World War. Which actually brings me to the point of like, what is Beaversdam? So I kind of first approached it as like, oh, it's like an open air museum. But then I thought like, oh, maybe it's once was or still is an open air museum, or it started out as that, but then over time the zoo became more important and became like the main moneymaker. So now they are like more investing in like the zoo, and the museum part is just sort of there. And I do imagine that this might be like the side of like, I don't know, maybe like some kind of like resistance from the Second World War, like something like that. Not that there's like a major battle here, but just that there's some kind of history that the town clung to when the World War was over and they needed something to be in this town. So maybe it's that. And then they just became sort of a zoo, which I don't know how that's going to work, because I also still imagine that people still live in the houses It's not like they transformed a ghost town into a zoo, so yeah. Story-wise, a little bit like how, but I mean, I don't worry too much about it. I just build pretty buildings and then I invent a story around it. So, in the last video, I asked you guys watch the Dutch or the English version of a sloot, which Matthijs said that should probably be a ditch, which to me, I might have watched too many horror movies or, you know, too many detective movies or series, because whenever I think of a ditch, I just think, which body will we find there? But then another one said, which I'm sorry that I've forgotten your name, but literally this is probably the most like stressful week that I've had in a long time, so I'm already surprised that I remembered Matthijs. But another one said like, oh, it's probably just a canal or canal. No, that's the Dutch word. Yeah, the word canal or canal just sounds weird, and probably like Google like the automated caption or just the like subtitles is probably going to have a field day with today's episode. But as I said, Matthijs said it's probably a ditch. Another person said it's probably a canal, so maybe small canals or small river. I'm probably just going to say ditch or slope, because by now you guys kind of understand what or I hope you guys kind of understand what I'm talking about. But then for today's episode, I'm going to ask you guys, what or how does Beaversdam work? So what is basically the story behind Beaversdam? Why is it a significant site? Why is it like so maintained and such, but also how do people still live here if it's a zoo or open air museum? So you guys can go all out with your stories. And also just to quickly go back into the last episode and that question. So as I said, Matthijs said slow or ditch. Now I'm scrabbling a little bit. And another person said small canal or just canal. And then Kane was, well, as I said, I already embraced that I just don't know how to speak. So yeah, I just confused the hell out of Kane. So I was kind of expecting that. But yeah, the next video should probably be some more like stereotypical Dutch houses or Grachtenpanden, and then another implied habitat. Or should we go for a real one this time? Because I want to keep it like, if it's like any animal that's not like native to like Europe, or at least like the sort of biome that the Netherlands is in, or I would assume that Beaversdam is like somewhere in like the west of the Netherlands. So if it's not an animal that's like native to Europe or the area that Beaversdam is set in, then I want to have an animal that's like low cost, that's you would see in almost every zoo, that's easy to maintain, because I don't think that Beaversdam would really go for like giant pandas and such. I'm thinking of like not really wolves, like I don't know actually for sure. Yeah, I might have to think about that, but then Beaversdam will come back next Wednesday, because this coming Sunday it will be hopefully the dingo habitat, and then tomorrow the koala habitat. Yeah, and then maybe, very maybe, Saturday it's going to be, very maybe, but it's probably going to be pushed to next week, going to be the funky looking turkey bird. Which, yes, I already have plans for both the dingo and the funky looking turkey bird habitats. They're all going to be Australian themed, of course. But anyways, with that being said, I should get back into talking about the church. So you might have already noticed, all of the sort of church buildings or like religious buildings that I've built, all are completely different, because the Church of Isla Pacifica is completely like Baroque. The Hagia Sophia, of course, is its complete like own entity basically. And then the Church of Beaversdam is this sort of like Gothic. It's a little bit like, well, it has some like, I think this build or church would probably be like at least 500 years old. which actually it's kind of weird whenever I think of like America that, or well, the United States, that like, yeah, most of your buildings don't go back even that far. Most of them don't. Which always makes me think it's like, most of like the buildings that I literally just walked past might be older than your entire country. Or well, state. So yeah, that's just something that I always keep in mind, and that I sometimes think about of like, maybe the church that I walk past is older than the United States. Most likely because it's, I think, early 1400s. I don't even know how old the church is that's in my village. Kind of also a sign that I don't go to that church. Well, I don't go to any church, so yeah. Anyways, here is where I need to specifically say why this video couldn't come out Sunday. It's because of this. Well, actually, for most of this video, you might have seen like the Australian pack and like the pieces in the, I'm just going to say build bar, or the pieces. So this is where I was kind of an idiot because I forgot when I was building this to disable the Australia pack. So all of the pieces, well, not all of the pieces, but some of the pieces could be like on show during building this church. And then when I realized like, oh shit, that the pieces are showing, then I just thought like, alright, I can't delete all of the footage and just try and build everything new again and disable the Australia pack. So then I just said, sorry guys, I can't show what I have built this Sunday because I was under an NDA, so I couldn't, say or show anything. Well, I could say a lot of things about the Australia pack, but I couldn't show any gameplay footage. So here it was just like, yeah, it's not showing like really explicitly the like pieces of the Australia pack. It's still there. So I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to jeopardize like the release of the Australia pack by releasing this video and then Frontier seeing like, oh, the pieces that are in the pack are on show. And once I realized like, alright, this video isn't going to be able to go up on Sunday, then I just went like, screw it, let's build with the Australia pieces. So all of these windows that you see me build right now are built with the iron beams that are in the Australia pack. There's a recolorable version and the standard version, which is a rusted version. Again, the Australia pack is really helpful if you want to make something Fallout themed or like dystopian themed or apocalyptic themed. Like it's a lot of like distressed materials, but some other materials like sadly no chain link fences, but I think you can get pretty close with these beams, or well, yeah, I'm just going to call them beams. Again, like I've sort of embraced the fact that I don't know how to speak English, it seems. But anyways, yeah, this window is maybe a little bit large, but that might be because like the sort of cross section or just the extension to this side is maybe a little bit too large, or the roof is a little bit too large, because at this point I did not want to make like a custom roof. And if I went like, there's not like a 3-meter roof, there's like 1 meter, 2 meters and 4, or at least I have not found a 3-meter one. So if I had my way, it should be probably in between the 2 and 4 meter one. But I just thought, alright, this church is already going to be a massive thing when it comes to pieces, so I'm not going to make a custom roof. And then I made a custom roof, because what I'm making right now is basically the rounded section on the end of the church. The church in Isla Pacifica also somewhat had this, but the Church of Isla Pacifica had a dome, which makes it a lot easier to build. This church doesn't have a dome, it has more like that spire-like thing. Well, not spire, but you guys will see what I mean. Which is a little bit similar to like how I build like pagodas, but that doesn't mean that it's any easier. It's not that much that it's like difficult to build, but it's more like tedious work because you build the roof and then it's just annoying. Also, yes, I said I'm going to work on the roof, and then now I see like, wait, I did those buttress thingies in between. And then I realized, oh yeah, that's because I did not want to do extra work on connecting the walls. So yeah. At first I tried to actually make it with just the standard roof pieces, and then quickly realized that that's impossible. Because, well, we don't have like those triangle versions of the roof. So no matter how much I tried, I could not make this with the standard roof pieces, but you might now already know what kind of roof I'm talking about. So luckily the plaster pillars, which I ended up using, which I basically use for every custom roof that I built, which has like, you know, those roof tiles. These plaster plaster pillars are really versatile and really easy to use for roofs. Just as much as like the painted brick pillars are really easy to use for like arches and such. So a lot of the pieces that I use throughout every build, no matter what like style of building, what type of architecture it is, because some pieces are just so versatile that I can use them everywhere. And I did not include the breaking up of this roof because you could already see the start, but it was just a lot of deleting like small little pieces. And after that, it's just like filling in the gaps. Which again, building this roof is not really difficult to do, or at least not for me. But it's just a lot of like tedious work, which also reminds me of my koala habitat, which I pick difficult projects and then I complain about them. But I mean, in the end, I'm always happy with them, but it's like it's such tedious work. It's not like big things, it's just like the small little things that really drag some projects out. I mean, as I said, I haven't been able to touch Kayan al-Bashar at all yet. Hopefully after like the videos for the Australia pack are out, then I will be able to like sort of dial back to like the 2 episodes a week and then work on Kayan al-Bashar, which is going to be fun because yeah, it's kind of been a while since I played in Kayan al-Bashar. And then I mean, we also have Isla Psivka, which by now I've sort of closed the project off in my mind, but I know that it's still there. I might use that as like the project for the streams. Because if there isn't going to be a video on Friday or Saturday, then there's definitely going to be a stream on Friday. So if I'm streaming on Friday or this Friday, then you'll know that I won't have a video on Saturday. But if I am not streaming on Friday, then you might expect a video on Saturday. So that's basically the sort of call of like, alright, if you see this, then you can expect this. If you don't see this, then you can expect something else. And also for anyone who is wondering, yes, I used to stream, used to stream Friday and Tuesday, but lately that schedule's been so weird and interrupted with the heat wave and everything going on now, the Australia pack. So yeah, I'm hopefully going to stream this Friday again, but if I'm not, then you might expect a video on Saturday, but it's not a guarantee because I have a little bit of my mental sanity to think about. But anyway, that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you do, subscribing and liking the video is of course a great way to help out. And I wish you all an amazing day. Bye bye.